Hello and welcome to episode 7 of our Women in Business series. I'm Becca Peppiatt, Marketing Manager at Proctor and Stevenson, and we're sitting down today with Ailsa Billington, Managing Director of P+S Creative. We're going to be hearing a little bit more about her career journey and her experiences as a woman in a senior leadership position. So Ailsa, thanks for joining us today.
You're welcome.
To kick off, can you tell us a little bit more about your career journey, maybe some of the previous roles you've had that have led up to your position as Managing Director of P+S Creative?
So I originally trained in graphic design. So I studied in London, did my degree there, and then I worked as a junior designer at an agency in London. And then a year later, I came and moved to Bristol. I saw a job advertised, which was a job at Proctor and Stevenson. I've been here ever since. That was in 1989, so a long time. I started at Proctor's as a designer. We didn't have account managers or anything like that, so you literally did it all, which I really loved, to be honest, the fact that you could get to meet clients and do the whole thing. And then as the agency grew and expanded, then we decided we needed a client services team. So we started recruiting account managers, and I was still doing the design and the account management at the time. And as my clients grew bigger, I was just spreading myself too thin, to be honest. So it was, what do I do? Do I go to the dark side and go into account management, or do I carry on being creative? So that was a real sort of a real point in my career where I had to make a change. So I decided to go with account management. I've always really loved the relationship side of working with clients. I started doing that. I became an account director, and then client services director, and then managing director, which is where I am now.
Wow, so you've had a really varied career, and probably amazing that you've seen Proctor's grow so much over the years.
Absolutely.
And we're still expanding, we're still hiring so many people, and it's lovely that you've kind of been there and watched that whole journey.
It's been amazing.
So on more of a personal note, what do you think has been your greatest accomplishment professionally to date?
Well, I think something that I was really proud of and chuffed about was I was the first female board director appointed at Proctor's, so that was back in 2015, and I was very proud of that because it meant that I could really contribute in terms of having a role in, determining the future of the company going forward, helping steer that, really shaping things and shaping the different teams that we work with. And so that was something that I was very proud of. I also felt it was great for the other females in the company to see, this is where you can get to, this is what you can achieve. It's not just a board of sort of middle-aged stuffy old men. There's somebody like me.
Yeah, and I'm sure you'll be an inspiration to a lot of people watching this as well, because you're probably one of the more senior people that we are having on this series. You've climbed so high, so yeah, we're very pleased to have you on board today. What would you say motivates you professionally? What
motivates me? I feel really inspired every day of the people that I work with, to be honest. I think, whenever I'm interviewing somebody and they say to me, what's one of the best things about Proctor's, or, what do you like about it? And the thing that I always relate to is every day when I come to work, I know that whatever I'm working on, whatever the project, whatever the client, I'm surrounded by this incredible team of people who are absolute experts in their field. We've got some of the most creative, talented designers, we've got amazing writers, we've got people, filmmakers, digital designers, across the whole gamut. And so whatever you're working on, that you can just call on anybody and they'll come up with incredible ideas, and that inspires you. You can go to our clients and say, hey, we're really proud of something to show you, we've got new ideas, and that's really something I enjoy every day.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's lovely that we're full service and we have so many experts under one roof, and it does rub off on your work. It
Totally.
Inspires you. There's so much idea generation going on constantly. It's a lovely agency to work for. So let's talk about your experience as a woman in such a senior leadership position. Do you feel like, looking back over your career, have you ever faced any prejudices due to the fact that you are a woman?
Do you know what? I was thinking about this, and I honestly don't think that I have, which, I feel quite fortunate about. Maybe I shouldn't feel fortunate, maybe it should be the norm.
Yeah.
But, it is quite common that people do face that kind of thing. I don't know if it's because we worked in a sort of more enlightened industry in what we do, and so we don't face as much of that. I think the only thing I can relate to, I think probably when I was younger, because as I said, I started here when I was, very young, I was 23 years old. And, we didn't have account managers, and quite often it'd just be me and Roger, our chairman. We'd be going off and, I'd be presenting my ideas to really senior people in, big global companies, a lot of men, a lot of women. And I think sometimes eyebrows are probably raised because it was a very young person, so maybe more of a sort of, people are a bit sceptical of like, does she really know what she's doing? But I think every time I've always found that by the time, you've got to know them, you've done your presentation, you've had your meeting, the next time they're saying, well, we don't want to have a meeting until, until Ailsa's available to come. And so I think, it can be a perception with young people at the start of their careers, but certainly not in terms of being a female now.
That's an interesting point that you've touched on there, that a few people have said as well, that age sort of is tied into it as well, rather than not necessarily gender.
Yeah.
Or race as well, that's also been raised. So I think, yeah, there's definitely an interesting point there about that. So for the women watching this, I'm sure you'll be an inspiration to a lot of young women watching this today. What advice would you give to them as far as strategies that they can implement to kind of assert themselves in a more dominant position within their organisations?
Well, do you know what I think is just really important, and it's very simple. I think believe in yourself. Have confidence in yourself, believe in yourself. I think there's a really sort of common theme that you hear about, especially in younger women at the start of their careers, having this sort of imposter syndrome, which holds them back. And I think, if you're invited to a meeting, if you're invited to give a presentation, just remember it's because whoever's invited you feels that you've got something that they want to hear about, that you've got an opinion and something to add, you've got something valuable. It's not a test, to see if you fail. It's because, you've got that knowledge to impart and people want to hear that. And I think always remember that. I think also always seize every opportunity that is presented to you. Don't turn things down. Even if you think maybe, I don't know if I can do it, go for it. I think that is the thing, put yourself forward, make yourself hurt, believe in yourself, and others will believe in you as well.
Yeah, that's lovely advice. So obviously in, the high position that you're in the company, and as we've talked about here, Proctor's has grown and grown over the years. You obviously manage a large team. Let's talk about your management style for a second. How do you keep your team motivated in their roles and feeling productive?
Well, I think, it's always important to give credit to anybody who contributes to a project. Always recognise the role that they've played and let them know the value that they've added. It's all very easy, especially when it's so busy and hectic and everyone's very stressed. People can get quite focused on the things that went wrong, and the positives can get overlooked. So I think it's always really important to give credit to people. I really like the fact that we do our quarterly ceremony, which is called the Proscers, where we all vote for people and the contributions that they've made, large or small, and people get an award for that. And I always love seeing people when they find out that they've been voted for and they didn't expect it, and it's such an uplifting thing to see.
Yeah, no, that's lovely. And we also do the weekly good news emails.
We certainly do,
which
yes.
is lovely, where we share the good news from client work from the week and give everyone shout outs for projects that they've worked on. So yeah, no, you're completely right. I think that's a good thing to touch on there. Give credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a question that I've asked everybody on this series.
Okay.
What traits do you think a great leader possesses?
Gosh, I don't know, because I don't know I'm a great leader, to be honest. I hope so. I think it's really important to learn to trust your gut instinct. And I don't mean that in terms of just on a whim. I think as you progress in your career and you go into those leadership roles, you need to be able to react quickly. You can't always take time to sit and mull things over and deliberate for hours or days. It's very important to be able to have a really good sense of knowing what the right solution is, the right answer is. And it's only something that I think you do get over time, but I think that's something that is really important. And I think, you know, learning from past experience, always taking that on board. I think anybody who is in a leadership position who feels that they have nothing left to learn and they already know it all, I think you're doomed to fail. I think all of us at whatever level, we all can continue to learn and learn from each other, learn from the more junior people in the team, you know, everybody around you, you can always learn more.
Yeah. And how, as a leader and a manager of the team that you do, how do you kind of foster a workplace culture that empowers both men and women within their roles?
Well, I think, you know, a really important thing, and I talked about this last year, I did an interview when it was International Women's Day, and it was talking a lot about supporting women, and I think something that I'm quite like that about is I don't like the idea of women need a helping hand, women need to be pushed forward, you know, women need special treatment. I think that's quite undermining, to be honest. I think everybody needs support. I think everybody should be, you know, supported and treated specially and attention paid to them. It doesn't matter whatever gender they are. I think, you know, it's about having the right person for the job, giving people the support that they need, whatever level they are, senior, junior, somewhere in the middle. So I definitely don't think it's about singling out women because they need, you know, they need a leg up, because they certainly don't.
Yeah, I completely agree. It doesn't need to be the case of a positive discrimination. It should be more of an equality, you know, one rule for all and everyone's equally empowered. And it should be based on your skill level rather than your gender or age or anything else.
Sure.
Okay, last question. Looking back over your career, if you could give advice to a younger version of yourself, what would it be?
Well, I think when I started out in my career, it was at the time when, you know, it was like, you can have it all. We were all told, you know, women were told, and I know it sounds like quite, you know, an obvious thing now, but it was about 100 years ago. But yeah, that was when we were told, you know, you can have it all. You can sort of be a mother, you can have a glittering career, you can have all of those things. And it was very exciting. But I think you have to be careful of what you wish for, because I think in hindsight, you know, I feel that we were sold a bit of a lie almost. Yes, you can have it all, but I think people need to really be aware of not putting too much pressure on themselves and feeling that you've got to be doing 100% of all of it all of the time, because I think that can, you know, you always end up feeling disappointed. You always feel like you're letting somebody or something down. You know, I've got 3 kids and I was a single parent throughout my career, so I'm very proud of the fact that I've managed to get to where I am whilst doing that. But I think especially to people starting out now, you know, of course you can have it all, but don't put the pressure on yourself to feel that you've got to be going 10 to the dozen on all of it at all times, because I think, you know, you'll trip yourself up.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. And someone said something similar in one of our previous interviews, which was a similar theme on that, and kind of said, yeah, don't put all the pressure on yourself, and also whatever career journey you want to go down, that's okay for you.
Yeah,
you don't have to feel like you have to do everything under the sun.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Ailsa. It's been lovely to have you.
Oh, my pleasure.
And if you want to find out a little bit more about our services in general, whether that's creative strategy or technology, get in touch with us at marketing@proctors.co.uk. Or you can keep up to date with our latest movements on our social channels, which you'll see on the next frame. Thanks for watching.